you guys enjoy your whatever that is.
All right. Test. Test.
Test.
Test. Test. I am wearing, if you're watching video, you can see me, but I am wearing some Cleveland Browns attire to honor a local legend who recently passed away. Dean has a pennant behind him there.
And
I
I
know,
got
Dean, you're a
this at
very
the
big
game
Browns
Sunday.
fan. Very
Nice.
nice. Very nice. So Jim Donovan, who locally was the voice of the Cleveland Browns on radio. He was also a local sports announcer on
WKYC.
local news for, yes, Channel 3 many years. He passed away recently at the age of 68, battling chronic lymphocytic leukemia?
I think lymphoma, like a
Lymphoma, leukemia. Yeah, so leukemia, poor man. So he was the voice of the Browns for 25 years, and that is a tough run. That's a lot of losing for many years. I mean, there's not been a whole lot of success in that franchise for a long time. A couple playoff appearances, that type of thing, but for the most part, man, was a lot of losing there, including a 0-16 season a few seasons ago before they drafted Baker Mayfield. But he was just he was always passionate about the Cleveland Browns, called the game flawlessly, energetic, intelligent. He was certainly a local sports icon here. So, Nick, we'll start with you. We'll let Dean finish up here. So, any thoughts on Jim Donovan? Did you listen to him much, or you weren't not really
I mean,
in so much?
I'm
You
not a
didn't watch a lot of
Browns
Browns games. Yeah, go ahead.
fan per se. I mean, I root for them, for my friends and family, for Robin and everything. But regardless, living in northeastern Ohio, he is the voice of the Browns on Sunday. And certainly, I mean, many a time, in this area, and certainly during the beginning of Browns season, it's usually nice outside. You're doing stuff. You're doing running. You're not always. I mean, some people, are always in front of the TV for a Browns game, but a lot of times, you're on the move. You're doing stuff with your family. But we always would have, especially since I've been with Robin, we always have the Browns game. The radio broadcast in the car whenever we're going somewhere, and definitely his voice. He is the voice of the Cleveland Browns. And for, like you said, 25 years? I mean, I wasn't sure exactly how far back my memory of him calling Browns games dates.
It's from
but
when they came back in 1999.
When they came back?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that is wild. And like you said, I mean, just his voice is kind of in the back of my mind as the voice of, whether you're actively paying attention to a Browns game or it's on somewhere in the background. His voice goes hand in hand with Cleveland Browns at 1:00 on Sunday. You know what I mean? It's just so. I mean, definitely a distinct voice. I mean, like I said, I'm not I don't profess to be a big Browns follower, but iconic voice. Like you said, the dedication he had to the Cleveland Browns, and through, like you said, just through thick and thin, but mostly thin. Just like, I mean, just hats off to him. I know that he I recalled when he had to take a leave a couple years ago because of the illness, and when he came back, that was a really big deal. And he was a fighter, and he was definitely, I mean, for whether you're a casual Browns fan or just a casual observer or a diehard, Jim Donovan's voice is goes hand in hand with the Cleveland Browns. And I'm sure that's something that he would be a legacy he's proud to leave behind.
I'm sure. Dean?
What makes a sports broadcaster, great, is exactly what he had. You take 25 mostly shitty years of the Cleveland Browns, and he made each game, at least you thought they were in the hunt. You thought that there was something amazing going on, even if it was just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, touchdown from the other team. You know what I mean? Regardless of how shitty the game is, his voice, his passion, the way he called just like the insignificant plays, brought you onto the field, like you're there watching it, or even watching on TV. His passion and his drive for the game gave you the visual in what you need in a sports broadcaster. There's been many greats throughout the years, and I really hope that, I mean, I know he wasn't national, but I really hope that his legacy shines through to be recognized. Actually, I don't remember what I was watching the other day, but it was a national something, and they mentioned his passing. No, actually, I think it was a WWE. I think the wrestling, and one of the announcers, you know, kind of said rest in peace, and then they announced his passing. So I do hope that he is looked upon as great as he was, especially for what he had to work with the team. We all love the Browns, but he loved the Browns a little more than all of us, and it showed, on the mic every Sunday, and like you said, even on TV, on Channel 3, he had, and I don't know, I was going to talk about this later with our main subject, but he had what many like if you're going to listen to a broadcaster, you could listen to the one that pronunciations every little, you know what I mean, like the deep voice radio guy, and he grabs the ball, and you could do all that, but he had like this like little lisp almost. And if you go and look at who is going to be on your list, Mount Rushmore of broadcasters, each one of them didn't have like that booming, perfect pronunciation announcer's voice. Leave that for the Michael Buffer. You know what I mean? These guys had personality to their voices, and Jim Donovan had exactly that. Like he had that little bit of everyman speech to him. Like he was your buddy telling you what's going on in the game.
Gen X Brian here from the Convincing Idiots podcast. If you're enjoying our show, tell a friend. And if you're not, well, tell two enemies. Actually getting into our Ask an Idiot topic here as well. So, how do local broadcasters connect with the community, right? So, I mean, you're already touching on some of it already. So, Nick, any thoughts on local? I mean, it doesn't have to be where you live necessarily. You may listen to games, you may listen to local broadcasts in other cities or something like that, and you have those local broadcasters, not the national ones necessarily, but any other qualities that come to mind as far as how the local broadcasters connect with the local community. Go ahead, Nick.
I think it's time spent, really. It's putting in the time, putting in the work, and it becomes ingrained in the culture of whatever team you follow, that this is the voice you hear through the good games, through the bad games, through the triumphs and the tragedies. And it's almost like it sounds kind of dumb to say, but it's almost like as a child with your parents, you know what I mean? Like there are good days, there are bad. There's time you're being scolded. There are times when you're being praised, but ultimately these are the voices in your head as you go through your life. Your parents, voices are kind of in there with you, and I feel like that's just over time. That's through different experiences and the wide assortment and the range of emotions you feel. The people tie themselves very closely to sports. I know all three of us do here, and you form a type of bond with the person kind of serving up for you the thing that you love. You know what I mean? Like they're presenting to you, and I don't know that there's any one thing. I just think it's time spent. You get to, and there's a comfort in that's my guy on the mic. That's my guy calling the game. That always calls our games. Maybe there's little the minutia of in arena things or little things that people who don't closely follow that specific team pick up on that they know, or if you've been to a game, or I don't know if I'm explaining that well. I think it's just kind of that, they're here because as a fan, you feel that like, players on the field, people who work for the team, they're paid to be there. So are people calling the games, but it's different somehow. Like you as the fan are choosing to spend your time and money on that thing. And when you're listening to the same voice, and like Dean alluded to with Jim Dawson, like when that comes across that they care about the team like you do, or maybe even more, like you can't help but form a kinship with that person and feel comfort and a closeness to them. I don't know. I just think it's just time spent around the team and kind of forming a bond over the familiarity of them always being there and always being the ones to relay that information to you.
Yeah, they're a true fan. They're a true fan of that team. So, like Dean kind of
It's
said,
different
like
to get a national broadcaster versus your guy that calls the home games. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right. No, the national broadcasters do a very good job, but they're
have to be
supposed to be non-biased. They have to be. Even though if they're a fan or not of the team that they're broadcasting for that particular week, they can't. They're not supposed to show that. Where locally, that's what you want. You want to hear the person who's really a true fan of that team. So, like Dean said, you're kind of watching the game or listening to the game with your friend who shares you're extra excited for the good moments. It takes your level of joy up. It's almost even it's even better to experience a good Browns moment when you hear Jim Donovan happy and excited. It's just a whole other level. But then on the other side of it is you're not alone in the disappointment of that game or that season or something like that. Jim is he was there kind of with you as a Browns fan, as an example. Almost like his arm is around you, like, hey,
we'll get them next time.
We're gonna come back and we're gonna get them next time and that type of thing. So yeah, and like you said, just the longevity, Nick. Like you said, it's just you have that comfort when you turn the game on. That's the voice you hear, and it just I guess I'm not a super Browns fan per se, but it gave me a comfort I could throw earbuds in or do something, even if I'm just kind of doing stuff around on a Sunday. It was comfortable and nice to hear a familiar voice every single week in Jim Donovan for many, many, many years. So, Dean, any other thoughts on connectivity with local broadcasters?
Yeah, a couple things. But one about the Jim Donovan thing. There was always that comfort of, like, if you're watching the game and then, it's a Sunday afternoon, families are out doing things, or, if you realize, oh, I got to do something, you knew that if you're getting in the car, you're not missing anything. You're going to be right there.
Right, exactly.
Yes, but I wanted to touch on the one thing that Nick said about what he couldn't quite put his finger on what it was, but there was all the players you're watching and rooting for. They're making millions of dollars, and the broadcaster is getting paid too. The difference for that, Nick, is the everyday Joe can see himself being able to do that. Yeah, I'm not. I don't look at it and go, I could pass that ball, but I can listen to Jim Donovan and go, you know what? I could, talk about what I'm watching and talk to. So I think there's a little more connectivity in that sense. Is that it's a little more relatable to the fans. And then the only other thing that I wanted to say about it was the idea that the hometown broadcasters, what makes them special is the way you're almost positive they're friends with the players. You know what I mean? Like they have this jokingness, they have this
Sure.
almost talking about them like, oh, that's Chuck going down there, running down the sideline there. All of them have, and they probably do talk to the players. There is some sort of level that the national broadcasters don't. I mean, they might interview the star before the game or coming into that weekend, but you feel that they know they're not only friends with them, but they're friends with you. They're friends with the city. A lot has to go into just that voice, just that calling the play, and which the great ones do perfectly. When Tom Hamilton for the Cleveland Guardians, if there's a home run, if I know that there was a home run or I watched a home run later, I will go back if I wasn't listening to the radio just to watch it, just to hear his call. Because everybody, if you look on any Guardians Facebook page after games, when they show video clips, they put Tom Hamilton's call behind it.
It's cool.
And there's a reason for that, because of that passion, that excitement. So I think that's where I lie on that.
Yeah, very good. Final thing, the Browns are doing a classy thing, which I like to see. They're wearing a sticker on their helmet to remember Jim Donovan, like a microphone with his initials in it on the back of the helmet. So if you
that's cool
in the Browns game and see that logo, that's nice. That's a very classy way the organization to remember him for the rest of the year.
Dean with Convincing Idiots, Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.
Great.
Yard work and drinking beer and
Are you getting that too? What is happening? Does he not hear it? Oh, Dean. Hey, oh. Oh, it's feeding. Nope, back. Bring the beef back. Let's fucking go. This is a banger, Brian. This is the best Dean has ever contributed to the show. Oh, fantastic. Dean, thank you for your contributions. This is fantastic. Okay, full disclosure, we don't know what's going on. This has to stay in the show, but we are going to have to probably end this call and start another one.
Yeah. Can you hear?
I don't want it to stop. This is gonna haunt my fucking dreams, dude. That's all I'm gonna hear tonight.
Yeah.